Hello, everyone. Welcome to my review of the player cards for the core set, but the deluxe set of Path to Carcosa, the new Arkham horror cycle. I thought it would be fun to review some player cards while I work on some other stuff. I'm working on investigator reviews and like how to play them and whatever in-depth stuff. I thought it'd just be fun to like tell you my opinion on the new cards or whatever. Hooray! So yeah, let's get. I no. Before we begin, I just want to say that I'm going to be giving these star ratings from 1 to 5. I haven't really figured out what that means, but 1 is sort of trash. 5 would be really good. Basically, auto include in most like every deck that could. So yeah, that's just so you know that. But let's get started with the .32 cult. Now, the .32 cult is a free resource weapon, takes up a hand slot. It has 6 ammo, so you can use it 6 times. It has an action on it. Spend 1 ammo, fight. You deal +1 damage for this attack. I think this is very good in Mark Carrigan because of his 5 fight value. This card doesn't give you any extra combat on an attack. But Mark doesn't. I'd say he's the only Guardian that doesn't necessarily need it. I'd say the other Guardians want stuff to bring them up to 5 attack. Mark doesn't need that. So I think it's a good card with him. I think down the line, if we get some more investigators with 5 attack, this will be a good card to sub in instead of the .45 automatic, which seemed to be the go-to like not machete weapon you'd put in Guardian. So you'd have double machete and maybe 1 automatic and prepared for the worst. And that that does a thing. But yeah, with 4 combat or attack investigators, I just don't see it being useful. So I give it 3 stars, I think, because it's only really useful in Mark, in my opinion. Other people might have different opinions. In regards to the pips, 1 combat is okay. It's not great. It like you wouldn't put it in your deck and then rely on that. True Grit. It's a free cost Guardian card. It's a talent. You can assign 3 damage to it before it gets discarded. It has a willpower pip, and True Grit may be assigned damage dealt to other investigators at your location. So this is kind of like a mini Father Gregory from Dunwich. Is it father or brother? I can't remember. I would say this is very useful in multiplayer at a 3+ player count. That's sort of when you want to be protecting lots of people. So I'd say the value of this card goes up with each player in the game. Act 2 is okay. It's better than Father Gregory in that most characters who will want you to soak damage off them don't need the sanity soaked off them. Characters like Daisy or Agnes, they have low health, but Rex as well. Low health, high sanity. Um, so this is 2 cheaper and 1 XP and cheaper, and that's pretty good. I give it 4 stars, 2 and up player count. In 1, I wouldn't think about ever including this card. Um, it just doesn't do anything. Let me handle this. Ooh, that is a lot of text. It's a 0 cost event with fast, and you can play it after another investigator draws a non-peril encounter card, but before resolving the card's effects. So it's important to note that you can't actually play this if you're the only investigator. You can't play it on yourself, for example. It has willpower and combat, just the notes, which is quite a good pip spread. What the card actually does is after you've played it, you are considered to have a drawn the encounter card instead. So if it's an enemy, it will spawn on you. If it's a skill test, you'll do the skill test, and you get +2 to each of your skills while resolving that card's revelation effect. I think in multiplayer, this is a 5-star card. This is really good. The fact that you not only drag off whatever horrible things going on to your partner or partners, the fact that you get +2 to each of your skills is really, really good. So I think this card will be played in all the Guardians in multiplayer, possibly forever. And anyone else with access to the card will also probably play it in multiplayer. It's just very good. Ever Vigilant. This is a 0-cost 1 XP event, double intellect pips. 1 at a time. Play up to 3 assets from your hand, reducing the resource cost of each by 1. This has one of my favorite arts in the entire the path to Carcosa Deluxe box. I think the art's very cool. And the effect's quite cool as well. But the 1 XP cost is a bit annoying. I'm not a big fan of having to this is a card I'd like to include from the first scenario onwards. But it is very powerful. It's best in your opening hand, and it appreciates in value as time goes on. But you don't have to worry about that too much because of the double intellect pips. The best, some of the examples of where this is really good in Roland, you could draw, say, Magnifying Glass, Beat Cop, and Machete, and this, and play all 3 in 1 action on turn 1, and you're completely set up and ready to go, and that's really good. In other investigators, it's also very good. Mark Harrigan seems to be quite asset heavy, and as a result, I think here, get good use from this, from his putting down allies and stuff like True Grit and all sorts. So pretty good. I give it 3 stars because I don't think it will be an auto include, and I don't think you'll always want to. You're likely to buy this. I don't think that's the case, but if you do, and I think it will be an early buy, it's very good. Field work. We're now onto the Seeker cards. This is a 2 resource cost asset with an agility pip. It has a reaction after you move to a location. If that location has at least 1 clue on it, exhaust field work, you get +2 skill value for the next skill test you perform this phase. I gave this card while I was doing a little writing and thinking about what to say. 2 stars. I don't think it's a great card, and the reason is it's because it costs 2 resources and an action plus a card in your hand to even get down. And then as you move around, it will boost your first skill test each time you move. But it's only during that phase. You have to do it that turn, which means your first action will have to be to move, which isn't bad. It adds a bit more, that's a bit rigid to use. And I think because it needs at least 1 clue, this is a card that, again, if you draw it late game instead of turn 1, it's really bad. No, it is not great. The agility pip as well. I honestly think agility pips aren't they're much lower value than all the others. So it's not a great card. Could see play. I think it needs to be tried out more. Archaic Glyphs, I haven't rated this yet because it's a card that adds something to your campaign log, and it's clear that this will have an effect down the line, whether it's in another card or some other stuff. So I'm not gonna, you know, say anything about it yet. Include it in your deck if you want. I can't really say whether it will be good or not. No Stone Unturned. This is a 2-cost event. Wild Pip. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator searches the top 6 cards of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles his or her deck. This is a bad card. 1 star. It costs too much for what it does, in my opinion. And it just doesn't do enough. Getting a card out of your deck for 2 resources or another person's deck isn't great when it's the top 6 cards of like a 30 card deck. Like you could use this to fetch combos. Yeah, I would have preferred it as a 3 or 4 cost and searching your entire deck. I think it would have had a use there, but not top 6. I don't think top 6 is enough in my opinion. In the Know. This is a Seeker asset, 1 an intelligence pip, talent. Although talent doesn't do anything really at the moment, there's nothing that synergizes with that. It has uses, 3 secrets, an action, spend 1 secret, investigate any revealed location in play as if you were at that location. This is actually pretty good. I think it's good in multiplayer on like large map scenarios. It lets you split the group, so one person can run off and scout, and the seeker can actually do stuff. And every now and again, in the know other locations, especially Rex. Rex can work really well with this. I forgot to say it costs 1 XP. So you can't have this first scenario, but second, you're likely second and onwards. So I think it's quite good. I'm going to give it 3 stars, but in Rex specifically 4 stars because Rex is so specialized in clue hunting that this card is, I think it would be very good in him. Stealth. This is a 2-cost asset, and in my notes I just did a big capital letters laughing and said 1 star. In reality, for discussions purposes, I think this card has a very specific use. I think there's 1 scenario where it might be okay to use, but other than that, like this, I don't know. They keep trying to make evade work, and this is just another card that doesn't really work. Especially because you can evade the enemy, and then multiplayer, it can just get thrown onto another person, which isn't great. I just realized I forgot to say what stealth does completely. Stealth has exhaust, stealth, evade. The chosen enemy gets -2 evade for this evasion attempt. If you successfully evade the enemy, disengage with it, but do not exhaust it until the end of your turn. That enemy cannot engage with you. I don't think that's very good. Sleight of Hand. This is a 1-cost event with intellect and agility pips. It has fast, play only during your turn. Put an item asset into play from your hand at the end of your turn. If that asset is still in play, return it to your hand. I gave this card 5 stars, yes. In Rogue specifically, it's okay. I actually don't think its calling is in Rogue at all. It's in any Guardian that can sub into this, specifically at the moment Zoe. Why? Because you can play Sleight of Hand for 1, bring out your lightning gun or your shotgun, shoot, and and that's for one resource, mind you. At the end of the turn, the shotgun goes back to your hand, or the lightning gun goes back to your hand. And then you can play it for realsies, or you can play another sleight of hand. This is very, 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 very good in Guardian. Very, very good. In everything else, um, I still need to be proven that it's useful. I'm just looking at Chicago typewriter, sorry. But in Guardian, oh boy. Daring Maneuver. This is a zero cost event with a wild pit. Fast play when you would succeed at skill test. You get +2 skill value for this test. I think this isn't great. It's a fun card. I think this will be very fun to use, and it increases your consistency with cards that want to succeed over 2, which is nice. But I'm going to give it 2 stars. I don't think it's going to be played that much. I think, you know, most of the time I'd rather have a different card in my hand. So, yeah. I don't have much to say about this card. Let's move on. Lockpicks. This is a free cost asset with an intellect pip. Uses free supplies. If Lockpicks has no supplies, discard it. It has an action. Exhaust Lockpicks, investigate, add your agility value to your skill test for this investigation. If you do not succeed by at least 2, remove 1 supply from Lockpicks. I failed to mention it costs 1 XP. I think this card is about 4 stars in terms of how good it is. It's good, not auto include, but good. It's kind of like Rogue's Right of Seeking. Notable investigators that like this are Skids and Wendy and Safina, because when they use it, they get a +4 by default to their intellect, which is really good. And if you succeed by 2, it doesn't even use up one of the supplies. On downside, you can only use it once a turn, unless you find some way to unexhaust it. And it doesn't get you 2 clues, it only gets you 1, unlike Right of Seeking. But a free cost is quite good. 1 XP isn't too bad. I can see myself using this. It also takes up a hand slot, but you got 2 of them. You got 2. Alchemical Transmutation. This is a 1 cost asset with a willpower pip. Has uses, 3 charges, and an action, exhaust Alchemical Transmutation, spend 1 charge, test willpower 1. For each point you succeed by, gain 1 resource to a maximum of 3. If any of the special symbols are revealed during this test, take 1 damage. I think this card is pretty crap. It's a worse burglary. It's a worse burglary, and you can take damage for it. So, not good. I gave it 2 stars. I think maybe it has some use. On hard and above, don't even bother with this, above standard. It would be 1 star. Bad. Next is Uncage the Soul. This is a 0 cost event with double willpower pips. It has play a spell or ritual card from your hand, reducing its resource cost by 3. I gave this card 5 stars. I think it is the best Mystic card in this set, and possibly throughout the entire path to Carcosa. This single-handedly fixes Mystic's economy game. I found that Mystic struggled quite a bit with money because spells are costly and other assets are costly, and they like assets. Your obvious targets for this are Shriveling and Right of Seeking, but it's also worth it to note you can use it on Blinding Light if you really wanted to, Scrying, You could use it to play Moonlight Ritual, I think, if you really would want to for any reason. Bind Monster, you could use it for. Mind Wipe. So I think what this does is it allows Mystic to be a lot more flexible with the freeing up spells that you put, free costing up spells that you put in your deck. For example, Bind Monster. I found that Bind Monster was usually too costly for what it does. If you have this and Bind Monster, it costs 0. That's alright. So yeah, the double willpower pip is just like special icing on the cake. This card is almost never useless in Mystic. Outside of Mystic, yeah, no. But inside of Mystic, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 stars. Great card. Next is Astral Travel. It's a free cost event. Willpower pip, agility pip. It's a spell, so it can be used with Uncage for Soul. It has move. Move to any revealed location and reveal a random token from the Chaos Bag. If you reveal a special symbol, you must discard an item or ally asset you control. If you cannot, take 1 damage. So, like our chemical transmutation is a worse burglary, this is a worse elusive. But elusive is a pretty good card. This, I think, is also pretty good. I gave it 3 stars. I think that might be wrong, and I'll have to come back to it, re-review these cards later down the line. But in certain scenarios where the map is very large, or you need to move to some places but you can't get to them like easily, this card is amazing. And the fact that you can use Uncage of Assault, so it costs 0 as well, is pretty good. So, this isn't a bad card by any means. I think it's pretty good, and I think it will at least see play as a one-of in some decks. To finish off Mystic, we have Spirit Afame, or Fame, a Tame, a Vame. I'm going to say Afame. I think it's a free cost resource, or free cost asset, costs 3 resources. Has a combat pip. It's an item, weapon, it can be fetched, prepared for the worst. It takes up a hand slot and has as a free thing, as a free trigger, you can during a skill test on a spell card, exhaust Spirit of Fire main, and you get +2 skill value for that test. And also you can exhaust Spirit of Fire to fight as an action. You get +2 combat for this test. I don't like that this card costs 1 XP. I can see why. The fact that you can't have it in a deck by default, I think really hinders it. I think it's still early to tell whether or not it's a good card. Like in V2 Mystics with 5 willpower, I think it might be okay in Gym where you have a willpower of 4, so increasing your strength to 6 for skill tests on your spells is pretty good. And the option to fight with it is alright, because +2 combat is quite good. I gave it 2 stars because I think rather than buying this, you can use the 1 XP towards buying better spells. Next up is Lantern. We're in Survivor now. This is a 2-cost asset. It has Investigate. Your location gets -1 Shroud for this location. And also you can, as an action, discard Lantern. Deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. It takes up a hand slot. I think this is worse than Flashlight. The one ping damage thing where you discard it is quite nice in Yorick, because you can use it just to throw off some rats or whippoorwills without any skill test, which is nice at high difficulties. But I can't see this really like you getting full as much value out of this as you would maybe Flashlight. The fact that it doesn't cost any supplies are nice, but the main character you probably want to use this is Yorick, and he can recur Flashlight as well. So it might be good as like the .45 automatic as of Flashlight, in that you put it in your deck to have this third investigate card or fourth. But yeah, Grave Digger's Shovel. This is a 2-cost asset with combat pip. Takes up hand slot, has action, fight, you get +2 combat for this attack. And action, discard Gravedigger's Shovel, discover 1 clue at your location. I think this card is quite good, but no +1 damage on the fight quite hurts it a lot. But the recurable fact that you can discard it for a clue, and in Yorick you can recur that and continue doing it for 2 resources every time. That's not actually too bad. I can't see this card being used outside of Yorick specifically, because Yorick is able to recur cards from the grave, not from the grave, your discard pile, every time you kill an enemy. Put them immediately in play for free, and then you can immediately then discard this for a clue. I'd say it'll probably be quite good on high difficulties, maybe. I need to test it out more, but for now, I'm going to give it 3 stars. Hiding Spot is a 1-cost event, double agility pips, fast, attach Hiding Spot to any location. Each non-elite enemy at attached location gains aloof. Forced, at the end of the enemy phase, if a ready enemy is at attached location, discard Hiding Spot. It's alright. The double agility pips is quite nice. I value agility pips less than all the other pips in the game, but it's not hard. I think it's useful in specific circumstances, and as a result, outside of that, it might not be great. And as a result, I give it 2 stars. In the specific scenarios it's good in, it will be better. Other than that, no. Last card is Resourceful. It's a skill card. Has intellect, combat, and an agility pip. If a skill test is successful, choose a survivor card not named Resourceful in your discard pile. Add the chosen card to your hand. I like this card. My personal, what I would probably use it for is a roundabout way of getting a chance encounter back. So you could play the Red Glove Man again in certain investigators who aren't Yorick, so we don't have access. I like this card. 4 stars. So overall, I think the cards in the Dunwich core set, not the Dunwich, the Path to Carcosa core set are alright. They vary a lot. I'd like to go back and do some player card reviews of other sets, specifically the entirety of Dunwich and the core set, so we can see in depth how these stack up. And I'd like to revisit this at the end of the cycle or midway, and see if it gets any better. But for now, there are some really good cards and there are some really bad cards. But hey, it's a card game, that's allowed. But yeah, catch me next time when I do something else, probably Arkham Horror related, because I really like this game. Other than that, sorry if this video is probably really badly edited and my voice sounds pretty bad. I've got a bit of a banged up nose at the moment. But thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and whatever, and share it with all your friends who care about Carcosa player card reviews, and yeah. But most importantly, thank you for watching, and I will see you the next time.